Hi everyone, this is Aisha Amore and welcome to the Making Your Own interview series, where I speak to people who are making a life of their own on their own terms. Now today I've got with me Kate Farr, who is also a cohort member of the FreelanceHer 100 program, which is a business accelerator program for women who want to start up a business or scale up a business in the creative, tech, media, digital industries. And I'm so excited to have her here because she's an international woman, which is quite cool. I love it. I've absolutely got a soft spot for anyone who's willing to live in a different country than the one they were born in. So yeah, I am so happy to have you here with me today, Kate. I'm so excited that we're going to get to have a nice, cool conversation today. And I would love it if you could introduce yourself and your business.
Thank you so much, Isaac. That's an absolutely lovely info as well. Like that, I feel you might have talked me up a little bit there, but let's go with it. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm Kate, and my business is Kate Farr Writes. Very straightforward. I'm a copywriter and an editor, and I've been freelance now for about 10 years on and off. Prior to that, I had a completely different career. I used to work in kind of recruitment and career coaching. And then in 2009, my husband got a job in Hong Kong. So we, pre-kids, when things were easy, when decision-making was far easier back in those days, we packed up, shipped off to Hong Kong, where we spent a couple of years. We then moved to Shanghai for a couple of years and then back to Hong Kong. So in total, about 12 years out of the UK. Now, arriving in Hong Kong, straight away realizing that actually what I was currently doing, because at the time I was working in career coaching, but very niche, like helping people who are leaving the UK military into new careers. So completely different sort of thing. Very quickly realized actually this isn't going to be something that I'm going to be able to continue with in Hong Kong. I'm going to need to find something completely different. So I'm going to need to make a bit of a career transition myself. Was fortunate enough to meet a fantastic friend of mine who was a magazine editor. And she gave me my first break, essentially asked me to write a couple of bits and pieces for her at her magazine, and gave me some really solid advice, really solid coaching, said, look, you're a great writer, you're a natural, here's how to take it to the next level, here's what you should be doing. So that was just like the most incredible opportunity to do something that I absolutely loved, that I'd never dreamed for a second that I'd be able to make a career out of. Particularly not, having just moved overseas and all that kind of upheaval. So I did a little bit of freelance. I dabbled a bit, and then in 2011 I moved to Shanghai, where I had my eldest son. And then the following year, towards the end of the following year, we moved back to Hong Kong, and it was then that it kind of really became like a proper career for me. I guess at that point, having gone from like freelance dabbling, it became like more of a full-time thing. I was given a job as I was offered a job as an editor of a sort of an online lifestyle platform, and that's something that I did kind of full-time for a couple of years, and then I guess it's like the power of female collaboration. So the lifestyle platform, it was all women, and it was very much like aimed at women and aimed at mothers, the area that I worked on. And one of my close colleagues was also from a freelance writing background. Both of us, for various different reasons, decided that we were, it was time to move on. I was finding it quite difficult to balance the whole full-time with having a very small child at the time, and thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to freelance. I'll probably get less work. I'll probably make less money. It'll definitely be less prestigious. But, I'll be working for myself. I'll be doing my own thing. And very quickly, within literally a couple of weeks of going back to freelancing, I picked up a couple of quite decent sized contracts. So basically just from the LinkedIn update that said I'd gone back to freelance, people reached out and said, hey, got this project, do you want to work on it? And of course, that freelance instinct to say yes to everything, no matter how to pull it off. Right? Absolutely, I can do that. And then dial back later and figure out how to actually do it. So it was a project. The first one that I was offered was a project that was going to be too big for me within the time frame that they needed. So I was really fortunate that I could call on my former colleague who'd also left to freelance and say, hey, do you want
Wow.
to team up on this? And then from there, you know, within another couple of weeks, she'd had a similar situation occur whereby she was offered a gig that was perfect for 2 people, probably a bit too much fun. And it just kind of went like that. And literally within about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, we sat down and said, we should formalize this. You know, we seem to have accidentally formed a business. Like, we're accidentally in a business partnership here. How did it happen? So kind of like having gone from, you know, accidentally becoming a writer, I then accidentally set up a business. This is kind of like the story of my career so far. Like, it all kind of happens by accident.
Just happens.
You know, I kind of fall into these situations, but you know, it's worked out.
It's serendipity, isn't it? I love the word serendipity.
Yeah, I like to think of it in those terms. So yeah, so that was back in 2014, and we set up an editorial and copywriting agency called Editors Inc. So both initially we were focused predominantly on like freelance lifestyle journalism, I guess. So a lot of things like travel, beauty, fashion, those kind of like lovely, light and fluffy kind of. And over the years, it switched, and I think for me it was a deliberate switch as well, a deliberate move more towards copywriting. What I found is that much as I enjoyed writing for, you know, I wrote for online and also print magazines, and the journalism aspect, what I really enjoyed most about the journalism aspect was kind of investigative side of things. So actually getting the opportunity to really delve deep into a topic that perhaps I knew nothing about and try and pull something into my work. And actually copywriting very quickly became a really good avenue for that, because well, I guess it's the variety. You know, you're working with loads of different types of clients and they've got loads of different needs. So you might be working on a really dry report for, you know, a law firm one day, and then you might be social media copy for a fashion brand the next. And I love that kind of variety.
I absolutely understand that, because like I say to people that I'm quite transient in the way that I like to do things. Like, being in a single space, for example, is enough to start getting me down in the dumps. So it is one of those things, like, I absolutely thrive on meeting new people and doing different things, which is why this interview series has just like been so great for me, because I get to meet people, learn new things, and hear about just the different dimensions that make up like the world that we're in. It's so amazing how you see like all these people that you've done copywriting for are successful within their own industries, but they're doing completely like different, unrelated things. And you get to be a part of that, and then you get to stop being a part of it and move on to something else, you know?
I mean, that's the thing. In a way, it's sort of like you get all, it sounds awful, but you get all of the benefits without the negative side.
Exactly.
I know with smaller businesses, and actually like the piece that we did last week as part of the program in terms of defining who your customer is. I've never really thought of it. It sounds crazy, but after all these years, I've never really thought of it in those terms before. And what, you know, for me, it definitely falls into 2 camps. You've got you know, big corporate entities that will tend to work with me on a retained basis to do a specific task each month that perhaps they haven't got the time to do with their marketing team. And then the other side of it is working with small businesses, working with startups, working with one-man band entrepreneurs. Usually it'll be like a one-off project, because, you know, frankly, budget is always a consideration, isn't it? But you know, working with them to maybe launch a new product or launch their business, and so satisfying to complete the project and to kind of see that you've managed to get, you know, you've managed to really tell their story, you've managed to find the right words for it, you've managed to pull out what it is that they are trying to communicate, and then you can kind of send them on their way. So you get all of the joy of it without then having to sit down and do the accounts. You know, it's
I know. Like it's that auntie sort of like space, isn't it? You get to play with the nieces and nephews and be like, yeah, there you go, full of sugar now. You can have that. So I think it's so cool that you speak about that dimension of being a freelancer and being able to work with other people, because you want to be part of their story and part of their success, and you have a certain space that you could fill up to help enhance what they do without them having to have you, you know, like as permanently on their team. which is so, yeah, it's so, and it's such a, I think it's such a superpower for freelancers that you get to, and it's a double-edged sword because you put yourself in a position of a specialist. Like, I'm really good at this thing. And so when you take me on, you don't need to onboard me. We don't need to sort of like go through a 6-month probation. No, I'm coming with the intelligence. I'm coming with the connections. I'm coming with the network. I'm coming with the energy. And it's so, I love being that person in other spaces. And I can see that from you, that you love being like, because it's so difficult, isn't it? Like, because we both worked in like actual bigger organizations before, where you just get like caught in the humdrum of it all. And to have someone new come in who has like no notion of the things that are going on, with their energy and enthusiasm, and they're going to get a job that you need to get done, and that's going to enhance your space, and you don't have to overthink it. Like, it's lovely being able to provide that. So
exactly that. You're kind of parachuting in to solve specific problems, and then you kind of parachute back out again. And exactly that, you know, it is a huge privilege that businesses trust us to come in with no prior knowledge. And actually, I think that sometimes coming into a business without prior knowledge can be a gift in itself, because you're not you're not weighed down by the other peripheral issues that would tie into that role if you were there full time. And you can literally just see it quite clearly, can't you? You can see it for what it is. And that's one of the gifts of being a freelancer and not being tied to a business and not having to get involved with the day-to-day stuff, is the fact that you can kind of have this top level view, and it becomes much easier to see where those gaps need to be filled.
So and it can be
great.
It can be really nice to be able to have someone who comes in with that, because it's, as you said, you know, like, is that you can't see the woods for the trees. You can't see the trees. It can be like that. So now I'm curious, when you mentioned sort of like the cheerleader that supported you when you wanted to go into, well, the opportunity arose to go into writing, how valuable do you think in general having like that cheerleader type system, especially within sort of like women, how valuable do you think it is? Or do you think it's like the same on par for like it is with guys as well?
I mean, for sure, within, you know, as a female freelancer, having other women to champion you is invaluable. And, you know, for sure, like the friend in question, she gave me so much good advice. And I think even to this day, she doesn't realize quite how valuable that was, just in terms of giving me the confidence. I think this is something that a lot of women suffer from. I know it's something that we've discussed a lot on the program, is this kind of imposter syndrome, or this feeling that, you know, you're going to get found out, you know, you're not really that somebody's going to come along with a big net and drag you off and be like, no, you can't say that you know these things. It's sort of like legitimizing what you kind of already know yourself, but don't necessarily have confidence to push forward. And I think, you know, for women, I mean, I can't comment, I'm not a man, but I don't see the same level of insecurity in your own ability. I think men are taught from a younger age to be confident in their own abilities. I think women have this, you know, conditioned tendency to step back, to be quiet, to not speak up in meetings, to not and actually having somebody who can be your cheerleader and be your champion and stand there and say, this is really good work, and this is how you take it to the level. And you need to think about this, this, and this. I mean, I've been fortunate throughout my career to have some, you know, fantastic champions. You know, I've had a business partner who's been in Hong Kong. It's been invaluable, I think, I hope, both of us, but certainly for me, to have somebody to bounce ideas off, to kind of sense check a lot of what goes through your mind, you know, just like sanity check it before you kind of put it out there into the world. You know, I've had a great a guy who's been really, really helpful, who's done a bit of coaching with me off this program. And then this program is just like next level, because not only have we got fantastic mentors and coaches, we've also got a network of really supportive women. All of us are kind of in the same boat, but also in completely different boats. And it's thing. There's so much that you can relate to in everybody's story, is what I found so far. And I know, I think it's beyond valuable to have somebody in your corner saying, actually, you can do this.
Definitely.
This is how you're going to, you know, take those first steps, and this is how you start. I wouldn't have done it without.
I didn't realize personally how much I'd had sort of cheerleaded in my sort of like youth until I got older. and saw how people who hadn't had the same type of cheerleading and see how they approached life. Because although I was kind of sheltered when I was younger, I was also really free, and I never thought there was something that I couldn't have a go at. I may not excel at things, but I never thought like, oh, I couldn't do that at all. And I got a lot of that encouragement. And I was a fairly poppy kid, and I was fairly bubbly, and like, I guess maybe I was easygoing in that respect. But when I've seen it in people who were like, when we've gotten older and worked with people, it's amazing when I see the most capable women, like absolutely, who speak so intelligently and are so articulate, and they know their stuff, and they've got such a good heart, and you just see them hesitating, just hesitating to like do things. And I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen? Just like, what do you think's gonna happen? Like, it genuinely, your fears are so unfounded. But we are literally conditioned, and you're literally conditioned to just, not necessarily just second guess yourself, but just not to even have belief in what your voice can do. You're just sort of like, so like, it's not even valid anyway. Don't even bother. Like, just don't bother. And I thought, I think that's one of the big things that I really try to help eliminate in people that I meet. Like, don't ever feel like you can't have a go. And joining this program was definitely me having a go, because I thought I was out of my depth, but I really wanted to be on it. And I sort of, because I have like, I'm going to give it a go kind of spirit, I think that was what just sort of like propelled me.
I think it's been, I mean, I think that comes across. And I think, you know, having been, you know, we're in, I think most of the sessions together, it really does come across in your approach that you're just willing to, you're very, very open to the idea of giving something a go. You're there to learn, you're there to kind of take from the experience, which I think is great. You know, I think it really comes across. I think
thank you.
Inspiring to a lot of people, because you are confident, and I think that confidence and that leadership is something that we can all learn from a little bit. But I think, I mean, looping back to what you just said about the fact that we're all conditioned in this way, absolutely. And from a language point of view, when you think about the words that are used to describe little girls who have an opinion, who are making some, who are being confident, you know, they're called bossy. You don't hear little boys being called bossy, right?
Like, you don't.
They're called, you know, rude or whatever. These are terms that are generally thrown around when it comes to men. And, you know, I think learning the difference between assertiveness and aggression is the key. And female assertiveness often is read as aggression in a way that it just is with men. And I think, you know, this is where being freelance, it gives you, you kind of take the power back. You know, it's your power. Your business is your, you know, is your own business, essentially. And how that progresses and what you choose to do with that is on you rather than on anybody else who's overseeing you.
I've actually learned assertiveness from being someone who wanted to own my own business. So I wouldn't say, I don't think I'm a naturally assertive person, in that I don't like conflict. I always feel as though we can discuss this. We don't need to have a misunderstanding. And I think it took some unnecessary hard work in a workplace setting to learn that you need to be assertive, or you're going to destroy yourself. Because if you like, you need to speak up, or else you're fudged. you're gonna get mowed, you're gonna get run over. And
absolutely. I mean, even after of doing freelance and you're working for myself, very recently, you know, within a couple of months ago, working with a client who's still a client of my agency overseas, without going into specific details, there was a dispute that arose around invoicing. And it was very clear from the start of this dispute that, you know, we were in the right. We had everything. We checked every box. We'd, you know, crossed every T. It was absolutely solid from our side. We were in the right, and that the money was owed to us. However, the organization in question, which was a very large corporate organization, did everything possible to try and essentially make it more hassle than it was worth for us to pursue this money that we were owed. And that's when you have to kind of find that inner confidence, and that, because you do second guess yourself, even though you have a contract there.
I know.
Like,
You're like, is it worthwhile? If I'm being a really good business person, I should think of the cost benefit. Maybe it's not worth me spending the hours chasing it.
Exactly.
Tough luck. No.
Actually, by the end of it, I had probably spent more billable hours chasing this money than I'd ever spent.
And that is the catch, isn't it? That is totally the catch.
But I think it was just, for me, it was a really useful lesson. Much as I hated to go through it and I wouldn't want to do it again, it was a really useful lesson in just standing my ground and being assertive and not backing down. Because I think, again, as a woman, you're always looking for that compromise. You're really primed to try and find a happy medium. And you know what? Conflict resolution, that's great if it works and there is a happy medium to be gained, that's fantastic. But in this situation, there wasn't going to be a happy medium. It was either you win or I win. There wasn't. Yeah. And I don't want it to be a you win, I lose, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But
but that's what our session today was about, wasn't it?
Not done today.
Talking about, have you not? Oh Lord, it's gonna be, you're gonna get some stuff. We've got Helen came through and she had some just words of pure knowledge, and it was an intense session, but it was talking about being clear of what is within the parameters of your project from the start, and ensuring that you chase the money that you were owed. Don't let it go. Don't let it fester. Don't drag it out. You're in the right. Just go for it. So I think it's so apt that you mentioned that right now.
I'm looking forward to that one now. I'm really interested. We can compare.
And there's some numbers. There's some numbers involved.
Compare notes on all of these night messages. But I know I have a large network of other freelancers that I work with, and it never fails to shock me and depress me at how many of them have walked away from from
being paid.
Because they're just like, do you know what, it's not worth my mental energy. And I get that, and sometimes if it's a low value, you kind of weigh it up and you're like, it's not worth it.
I know what you mean.
The message that you're giving there is that actually, if you push back enough, I'm just going to back down.
I'm going to let and I think it's important that as people in this position, that a lot of us have chosen to be in this position. Some people may feel that they've had to be forced into this space, but a lot of us have chosen to be freelance and chosen to be our own bosses. And I think it's important that we take on that responsibility with all the gunky stuff that comes with the good stuff and the freedom, because we're responsible for our own lives. Now, before we wrap up, I do want to check in with regards to the program right now, because I'm wondering, a couple of people seem to have wanted different things from the program. So I'm curious as to what was the final thing that said, you know what, I'm going to join this FreelanceHer 100 program because I want to make sure I get this, or from what they're promising, I'm going to be able to achieve this in the next 12 weeks, which I absolutely need for my business.
For me, it was the network. So we left Hong Kong in August 2020. So, literally move across the world in a global pandemic with 2 children. Cannot recommend anything about that experience. Not the time.
It seems so easy.
So that was obviously a lot of stress and a lot of drama, and the business had to take a backseat for a little while. So I still have my agency in Hong Kong and I have my amazing business partner, and that's great. But it very quickly occurred to me that in order to make my business work here, I needed to grow my network, and quickly. And at first it was probably that kind of cold in a way. It was like, I need numbers of people that I can reach out to and offer my services to. And this kind of, my brother-in-law actually spotted this and said, hey, are you interested? I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. This is perfect. So it was the opportunity to get the network. But what I found, what's evolved over the last 4 weeks of this program, is the network is more than just a bunch of random people that I can try and shill my business at. It's really just been so incredibly supportive and so inspiring. And every single session I'm taking something from someone else's experience. How can I apply that to my own situation? And it's just way more than I would have ever anticipated.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's been fantastic, and I really, it's a really warm and supportive group. I think all of the women on the group so far have just been so lovely and so supportive and so just the variety of skills that we have is quite
and it's not something you hear about. You don't hear about women being really supportive and encouraging of each other. You don't hear about their high level of skill acquisition. You don't hear about how strategic it is to know women in your business formation. And it's just great. I just feel like it's just bursting like so many stereotypes that people may have created around women in business, because I don't know what people thought when they heard about like this program of 100 women who want to start businesses. And I don't know what type of businesses they thought they were going to be doing or the type of people going to be there, but I'm certain we've surprised them. Like, I'm so sure we have.
I really, really think so. And I think it's that sort of moving away from that really patronizing idea of like a mummy business that you do for pocket money. And
I know.
Like career-focused women who, you know, not all of them, but some of them happen to have other caring commitments that they're juggling. I'm just even more impressed at the level of professionalism that I'm seeing, given that I'm in a situation that a lot of us are in, where this juggle and this kind of chaos that's going on around us, the fact that we're all able to deal with that while setting up our own businesses in a global I mean, my God, we're amazing. All of us are amazing.
We are. We so are. So now, since I know now that part of your intention, or the big part of your intention for joining the program, was to meet other women and or at least build your network. Are you doing that strategically already? Like, have you said to yourself, every week I'm going to make sure I'm connecting with 2 people to see if I could speak to them or see if we flow? Or are you just letting it happen how it's going to happen?
I think your approach is probably a smarter approach. I think being the way I should be, but it's just, that's always the area that I struggle with. And again, that's something that I'm hoping to take from the program, is how to, I guess, organize my thoughts and organize my time to be more strategic in my approach. But no, so far I've kind of been letting it happen. You know, I feel like I've connected with quite a few people. I mean, last week, so many calls from our group, all really like I hope mutually beneficial and very, very supportive again, and very kind of inspiring. Every person that I've spoken to has got me thinking about a different aspect of my business so far, which has been amazing. So no, I think possibly I need to put something in place to be more strategic, because it's very easy to let things drift as well. And I think holding yourself accountable, you know, actioning all of these points is really important, because otherwise it just becomes theory.
I know. Well, you know, I'm so excited. I'm so pleased to have met you. And this has been such a lovely chat. You're so energetic. And I feel like if I had work to give you, like, we'll have such an awesome chat and you just get what I was saying.
I hope so. And like the way back, you know, I'm energized because my children are currently out of the house. That's why this is different energy to the energy you just seen 20 minutes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the take home for me has been just like, I love working with other female business owners. I get a real buzz out of it. I think that women tend to just, I don't know, there's a certain intuition there. There's an instinctive way of working that I really appreciate, that I found with my female clients. And looking forward to getting some female clients now.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today, Katie. This has been a wonderful, wonderful chat. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday. And enjoy the sessions today. Like, you need to pay attention though. There's loads of numbers. There's loads of information.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah.